So here's the thing about the Galactic Hunter Academy. It's basically the universe's most expensive way to tell everyone you're a certified badass. We're talking about a place where the entrance exam involves tracking a plasma bear through a radiation storm, and that's considered the easy part. And then there's me, Jake Rodriguez. Human. The only one in my class, actually. The only one in the entire academy, if we're being honest. Now, you'd think being the sole representative of your species would earn you some respect, maybe a little curiosity. Nope. What it earned me was Professor Kretsch, all four of his scaly arms crossed over his chest, looking down at me like I'd just asked if we could skip the whole hunting thing and maybe try knitting instead. "Mr. Rodriguez," Kretsch said, drawing out my name like it physically hurt him. "Can you explain to the class why humans believe they qualify as hunters?" I could hear Thornix snickering behind me. Thornix, this massive wolf bear thing from Arcturus Prime, born with retractable claws that could cut through steel and an ego that could cut through common sense. Next to him, Pip, a little rabbit-eared creature from some moon I can't pronounce, looked like she wanted to disappear into her seat. "Well, sir," I started, "we're persistence hunters. We track prey over long distances until it dies of boredom?" Kretsch interrupted. More laughter from the class. "Let me educate you, human. Real hunters are ambush predators. They have natural weapons. Speed. Strength. Venom. Fangs. What do humans have? The ability to jog slowly for a really, really long time." He walked around my desk, all four arms gesturing dramatically. "You people are the participation trophy of the predator world. You don't hunt. You just annoy things until they give up out of sheer exhaustion. It's not hunting, Mr. Rodriguez. It's harassment with extra steps." The whole class was laughing now. Even Chirp, my roommate, this mantis-looking guy who'd been nothing but nice to me since day one, had his mandibles twitching in what I'd learned was his version of a nervous smile. "In fact," Kretsch continued, clearly enjoying himself, "I don't believe humans can hunt at all. Not by galactic standards. And here's where my mouth got me in trouble. Again. Want to bet on that, Professor?" The laughter stopped. Kretsch's triple-pupilled eyes narrowed. "Excuse me? The final hunt is in 2 weeks, right? I'll prove humans can hunt. By your standards." Thornix leaned forward. "This ought to be good." Kretsch's mouth split into what I'm pretty sure was a smile, though on his species it looked more like he was about to unhinge his jaw and swallow me whole. "Very well, Mr. Rodriguez. The final hunt. You'll go to Vorgath 7 with the rest of your class. Bring back a trophy from an apex predator, and I'll admit humans can hunt. Fail, and you withdraw from the academy. Do we have an agreement?" I should have said no. I should have apologized, sat down, and accepted that sometimes you just need to keep your mouth shut. But here's the thing about humans that the rest of the galaxy doesn't quite get. We're really, really bad at backing down from stupid challenges. "Deal," I said. Professor Kretsch nodded slowly. "Excellent. I look forward to writing your withdrawal papers, Mr. Rodriguez." Class dismissed. As everyone filed out, Chirp skittered up beside me, his antennae drooping. "Jake, buddy, do you have any idea what you just agreed to? Vorgath 7 is where hunters go to die. They literally use it as the final exam because half the species there could eat a battlecruiser for breakfast." "I know. Then why?" "Because, Chirp," I said, grabbing my datapad and pulling up information on Vorgath 7. "Professor Kretsch just made a critical mistake." "What's that?" I grinned. "He assumed humans hunt like everyone else." Chirp's antennae perked up slightly. "And you don't?" "Nope. We cheat. We've been cheating for about 200,000 years. And I'm about to show this entire academy exactly how good we are at it." Behind us, I could hear Thornix telling anyone who'd listen that I'd be dead within an hour of landing on Vorgath 7. Pip was nervously asking if someone should talk me out of it. And Professor Kretsch? He was probably already drafting that withdrawal letter. None of them understood yet, but they would. The Galactic Network's entry for Vorgath 7 reads like a horror movie written by someone who really hated tourists. Warning. Class 5, Death World. Atmospheric composition. Breathable, but why would you want to? Native fauna, 73 documented apex predators, 12 of which can kill you by looking at you wrong. Survival rate for academy candidates, 42%. Please update your will before visiting. Chirp read over my shoulder and made a sound like air escaping from a deflating balloon. "Jake, this is insane. The Razorback Titan alone has never been successfully hunted. Never. And that's just one of the things that lives there." I said, scrolling through the Predator database. "Razorback Titan, armored hide that could deflect plasma rounds. 18 feet tall, carnivorous, territorially aggressive." Then there was the Shriek Stalker, naturally invisible, ambush predator, 7-foot wingspan, and of course, the legendary void serpent, which apparently existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously and had a 100% kill rate against anyone who tried to hunt it. "You're not even listening to me," Chirp said. "I am. You said it's insane." "I agree. It's completely insane." "Then why are you smiling?" I pulled up a video of a Razorback Titan demolishing a hunting party of Zenthian warriors. They'd come at it with energy weapons, combat mechs, the works. The Titan had crushed them in under 4 minutes. "Because they're hunting it wrong," I said. Chirp's mandibles clicked in confusion. "There's a wrong way to hunt something that's basically a living tank?" "Yeah, the wrong way is trying to fight it like it's a war. Everyone in this academy thinks hunting is about being bigger, stronger, or having better weapons." I closed the video and started pulling up Earth's historical records. Humans figured out a long time ago that hunting isn't about domination. It's about being smarter, more patient, and way more petty than whatever you're hunting. Petty. Spite is an excellent motivator, Chirp. Over the next week, while Thornick was busy bragging about the plasma rifle he'd requisitioned and the other students were upgrading their combat implants, I was in the Academy's archives doing something that apparently no one had thought of before. Research. I studied migration patterns, feeding schedules, territorial behaviors. The Razorback Titan? Turns out it has a very specific patrol route and gets aggressive at the same time every day, right after feeding. The Shriek Stalker? It's actually pretty curious about new objects in its territory. And the Void Serpent? Well, that one was going to require some creative thinking. My equipment request made the quartermaster laugh so hard I thought he was going to pass out. "You want a compound bow?" he wheezed. "And rope?" "Kid, this is Vorgoth 7, not summer camp. Just put it on my account," I said. "Your funeral." He shrugged, still chuckling as he processed the order. Chirp watched me pack my gear with increasing alarm. Alongside the bow and rope, I'd grab some basic camping supplies, a few protein bars, water purification tablets, and exactly one piece of advanced technology, a portable translator unit. "That's it?" Chirp said. "That's your entire loadout?" "Jake, Thornick is bringing enough firepower to level a small city." "Cool. I'm bringing a tent and some snacks." "You're going to die." "Maybe," I admitted, testing the pull on the bowstring. "But here's the thing, Chirp. Every species in this academy hunts the same way. Overwhelming force, superior technology, natural advantages. They go in expecting a fight. And you're not?" I grinned. "I'm expecting to make some new friends." Friends? "Jake, these are apex predators. So are dogs, technically, and cats, and horses. Didn't stop us from turning them into pets." I shouldered my pack. "Humans have been befriending apex predators since before we invented the wheel. We call it domestication, but really, it's just long-term social manipulation with treats involved." Chirp's antennae drooped completely flat. "You're not going to hunt them. You're going to try to befriend them." "Not exactly. I'm going to do what humans do best." I headed for the door, then paused and looked back. "I'm going to make them think befriending me was their idea." "That's insane." "Yeah," I agreed. "But insanity is kind of our species' secret weapon. That and spite. Mostly spite, if I'm being honest. The night before the hunt, I couldn't sleep. Not from nerves exactly. Just that itchy feeling you get when you're about to do something monumentally stupid and you're kind of excited about it." Chirp found me reviewing my notes for the 100th time. "You know," he said quietly, "you could just apologize to Kretsch. Withdraw. No one would blame you." "Yeah, they would," I said. "They'd say humans can't hack it. That we don't belong here. And that matters to you." I thought about it. "You know what the problem with being the only human in the galaxy trying to do something? Everyone's watching. If I fail, it's not just me failing. It's humanity failing. Every human who comes after me will have to deal with that. That's a lot of pressure." "It is," I admitted. "But you know what? Pressure is also kind of our thing. We put humans on the moon out of spite because another country said they'd do it first. We invented half our technology because someone said it was impossible. Humans are at our best when someone tells us we can't do something." Chirp was quiet for a moment. "Professor Kretsch really picked the wrong species to challenge, didn't he?" "Yeah," I said, finally closing my notes and grinning. "He really did." The drop pod hit Vorgoth 7's surface with all the grace of a drunk penguin, which is to say I nearly bit through my tongue on impact. "Candidate Rodriguez deployed," the computer announced cheerfully. "Current survival odds, 12%. Have a pleasant hunt." "Thanks for the vote of confidence," I muttered, popping the hatch. Vorgoth 7 looked exactly like a place designed to kill you would look. Purple vegetation that probably wanted to eat me. two suns beating down like angry gods, and somewhere in the distance, a roar that sounded like a freight train having an existential crisis. My comm unit crackled. All candidates, you have 72 hours to secure your trophy and return to the extraction point. The Academy staff will be monitoring via drones. Try not to die. It's terrible for our accreditation. Through my heads-up display, I could see little icons representing the other students spreading out across the continent. Thornick's icon was already moving at speed toward the mountain range where the Razorback Titans nested. Subtle. Me? I set up camp. Is Candidate Rodriguez setting up a tent? I heard Professor Kretsch's voice over the monitoring channel. Is he planning to nap through his own final exam? I could practically hear him smiling. Good. Let him think I was clueless. While the other students were busy charging into danger like they were auditioning for an action movie, I spent my first 6 hours doing something that apparently counted as radical in the hunting world. I observed. The Razorback Titans' territory was about 3 clicks north. I'd read that they patrolled the same route every day, marking territory and looking for threats. Sure enough, right around midday, I heard it. That freight train roar, except closer and angrier. Through my binoculars, I watched the Titan lumber past. 18 feet of armored murder, each step shaking the ground like a localized earthquake. Beautiful, really, if you ignored the part where it could crush you into a human-shaped pancake. But here's what I noticed. It took the same path. Exactly the same path. And about halfway through its patrol, it stopped at a specific grove to scratch its back against the same 3 trees. Behavioral pattern. Predictability. And most importantly, a routine. He's just watching it. Kretsch's voice crackled over the monitor channel. The human is literally just sitting there watching. Perhaps humans hunt through intense staring? Should we tell him that doesn't work? Ignore the haters, Jake. Focus. I spent the next 12 hours setting up what I lovingly called Operation Inconvenience. Using my rope, some local vines that looked sturdy enough, and a bit of creative engineering, I rigged a trap along the Titan's patrol route. Not a killing trap, mind you. That would be boring and also probably impossible. No, I built an annoyance trap. The next morning, right on schedule, the Titan came stomping through and walked straight into a net that yanked 3 of its legs together while simultaneously dumping a tree's worth of sticky sap on its head. The roar it made probably registered on seismographs in neighboring star systems. What is happening? Kretsch sputtered over the monitor feed. What was happening was hilarious. That's what. The Titan thrashed, trying to break free, but the more it struggled, the more tangled it got. The sap was gumming up its armored plates. It wasn't hurt, just supremely, magnificently annoyed. I approached slowly, hands visible, speaking in that calm voice you use with angry animals. Hey there, big guy. Yeah, you're having a bad day, I can see that. Here's the deal. I'm going to cut you loose, and you're going to calm down. Sound good? The Titan glared at me with eyes that promised creative violence. Or you can stay stuck there. Your choice. I waited. This was the critical part. Humans figured out a long time ago that sometimes the best way to dominate something isn't through force. It's through being the solution to a problem you created. After about 10 minutes of angry thrashing, the Titan went still, watchful, waiting. Smart boy, I said, and started cutting the ropes. The moment it was free, I half expected to die. But the Titan just stood there, shaking off sap, watching me with what I really hoped was curiosity and not pre-meal planning. I tossed it one of my protein bars. It sniffed it suspiciously, then ate it in one bite, wrapper and all. Yeah, the wrapper's probably the most nutritious part, I admitted. We stared at each other. Then I did something that was either brilliant or suicidal. I turned my back and walked away. Predators chase. Prey runs. But something that walks away calmly? That's confusing. That's a power move. I made it about 20 feet before I heard it following me. Not charging, just following. Is that thing following him? Someone said over the monitor channel. Candidate Rodriguez appears to have befriended a Razorback Titan, another voice observed. This is unprecedented. It's not befriended, Kretsch snapped. It's clearly waiting for the right moment to attack. Sure, Professor. Keep telling yourself that. Next up was the Shriek Stalker, and this one was tricky because I couldn't see it. Invisible ambush predators are like that. But I could hear it, this weird whistling sound it made while flying. So I did what humans do when we can't see something. I made it come to me. I set up what basically amounted to the galaxy's weirdest buffet. Strange objects, shiny things, interesting smells. Then I sat down and waited, very deliberately not looking like I was paying attention. Curiosity killed the cat, But it also made the invisible bird monster land right next to my camp to investigate the weird human who'd turned part of the forest into an obstacle course of fascinating junk. When it materialized, all 7 feet of razor-feathered nightmare, I didn't flinch. I just held out another protein bar. "You look hungry," I said through the translator. "These things taste like cardboard, but they're technically food." The shriek stalker cocked its head, which would have been cute if it didn't have a beak that could probably crack starship hull plating. It snatched the bar, ate it in 2 bites, then made a sound that the translator helpfully labeled as, "More? I've got like 6 more. But you gotta stop trying to look intimidating. You're already invisible, that's intimidating enough." And that's how I ended up with a razorback titan carrying my camping gear and an invisible murder bird that kept appearing and disappearing while making excited chirping sounds whenever I opened my food pack. "This is impossible," Kretsch breathed over the monitor. "This violates every principle of predator behavior." "Nah," I said, knowing he could hear me through the drones. "This is just Tuesday for humans. We've been doing this since we convinced wolves to become dogs." But I wasn't done yet. I still had to find the Void Serpent, and that was going to be the really fun part. Finding the Void Serpent wasn't hard. It found me. One moment I was walking through a canyon with my increasingly weird entourage. The next moment reality just sort of folded. The air shimmered, turned inside out, and suddenly there was a 50-foot serpent made of starlight and bad decisions coiled around the canyon walls. It existed in multiple dimensions at once, which meant looking at it gave me an instant headache. Parts of it were here, parts were somewhere else, and all of it looked extremely capable of ending my existence across several planes of reality simultaneously. The Titan backed up. The Shriek Stalker went invisible and stayed that way. Even through my mounting panic, I noted that response. Fear. These apex predators were scared of this thing. The Void Serpent's voice bypassed my ears entirely and spoke directly into my brain, which was exactly as pleasant as it sounds. "Another hunter, another fool. You are smaller than most." "Yeah, I get that a lot," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "But here's the thing, I'm not here to hunt you. All who enter my territory hunt. All die." "See, that's where you're wrong. I checked the records. You've killed 47 hunters in the last decade. But you know what I noticed? They all attacked first. Every single one." The serpent's form rippled, which I really hoped was confusion and not it winding up for a kill strike. "They were hunters. They were idiots," I corrected. "They saw the most dangerous predator on the planet and thought, hey, let's fight it with our fancy weapons and superior technology." Not one of them stopped to think maybe there was another option. What other option exists? And here's where 3 days without sleep and way too much research was about to either save my life or make my death really embarrassing. "Negotiation," I said. The Void Serpent made a sound like reality grinding its gears. "Negotiation? Yeah, see, I spent some time reading about you. Every encounter, every attack, every kill. You know what they all have in common? They all happened in this canyon. Your territory. You're not a wandering predator. You don't leave this area, which means you're not hunting. You're defending." The serpent went very, very still, which was somehow more terrifying than when it was moving. I pressed on, because stopping now would definitely get me killed. "You exist in multiple dimensions, which means you probably experience time differently than we do. You've been here for what? Centuries? And every few years some idiot with a plasma rifle shows up, sees the legendary Void Serpent, and decides to make a name for themselves. You're not a predator, you're tired. You know nothing of what I am. Maybe not. But I know what humans are. We're the species that looked at wolves, the apex predators of our world, and said, hey, what if we became friends? We looked at murder cats with retractable claws and decided they'd make great roommates. We're really, really good at turning potentially deadly relationships into mutually beneficial arrangements." I could feel Professor Kretsch having an aneurysm through the monitor feed. The other students had probably stopped whatever they were doing to watch this. Good. Let them watch. "So here's my offer," I continued. "I'm not going to fight you. I'm not going to try to take a trophy from you. I'm just going to stay here in your territory for a bit, maybe camp for a day or two, and then I'm going to leave. And in exchange, you don't kill me. That is not negotiation. That is surrender. No, that's respect. There's a difference." I sat down, which was possibly the stupidest power move I'd ever attempted. Humans learned a long time ago that the strongest predator doesn't always win. Sometimes the one who wins is the one who figures out how to avoid the fight entirely. I don't need to defeat you. I just need to not die to you. And you? You get to not waste energy killing another idiot hunter. The Void Serpent's form rippled through several dimensions at once. I couldn't tell if it was thinking or preparing to erase me from existence. Humans, it finally said, are strange. You have no idea. You do not fear me. Oh, I'm terrified. I'm just really good at pretending I'm not. It's a survival trait. For the first time in recorded history, the void serpent made a sound that the translator couldn't quite process. It came out as something between a laugh and a quantum mechanics equation having an identity crisis. You may stay, but only because you amuse me. I'll take it. And then something happened that made absolutely everyone watching lose their minds. The void serpent uncoiled from the canyon walls and settled into a slightly less reality-breaking configuration closer to me. Not threatening, just present. Over the next 2 days, I did something that no hunter in galactic history had ever done. I hung out with the void serpent. We didn't talk much, mostly because interdimensional communication gave me nosebleeds. But we existed in the same space without trying to kill each other, which was apparently revolutionary. I learned things. The void serpent was old. Really old. It had been in this canyon for 3,000 years, and it was lonely. Every living thing that entered its territory either attacked or fled. I was the first being in centuries that had just stayed. You are pack bonding with it, the serpent observed on the second day. This is a human trait? Yeah. We pack bond with everything. Rocks, Roomba vacuum cleaners. Literally anything that exists near us for long enough. It's a problem, honestly. It explains much about your species. On the morning of the 3rd day, when I started packing up to head back to the extraction point, the void serpent did something unexpected. It followed me. So did the Razorback Titan, who'd spent the last 2 days acting like an 18-foot puppy. So did the Shriek Stalker, who kept appearing on my shoulder and making happy chirping noises. Guys, I said, looking at my collection of apocalyptic murder beasts. You know I have to go back to the academy, right? Like, civilization, other people, rules about not bringing cosmic horrors into cafeterias. The Titan huffed. The Stalker chirped. The void serpent's presence in my mind felt almost hopeful. Oh no, I said. Oh no, no, no. We are not doing this. You can't all come with me. Pack, the void serpent said simply. And that's how I started walking back to the extraction point with 3 of the deadliest predators in the galaxy following me like ducklings. The monitor channel was complete chaos. Is he seriously bringing them back? The void serpent hasn't left that canyon in 3 millennia. Someone call the dean. This is above Professor Kretsch's pay grade. And Kretsch? Kretsch was just making incoherent, sputtering sounds. I grinned up at the nearest drone. Hey, Professor. About that whole humans can't hunt thing? I think we need to have a conversation about what hunting actually means. The Razorback Titan roared in what I was pretty sure was agreement. The Shriek Stalker did a little loop-de-loop in the air, and the void serpent's presence in my mind felt distinctly smug. Yeah, this was going to be fun. The extraction point was a clearing about 2 kilometers from the academy's main campus. When I walked out of the tree line with my entourage, I'm pretty sure I heard someone drop their data pad. The entire faculty was there, all the students, what looked like half the administrative staff, and right in the front, looking like he'd swallowed something extremely unpleasant, was Professor Kretsch. Behind me, the Razorback Titan was carrying my tent, my camping gear, and for some reason, a large rock it had gotten attached to. The Shriek Stalker kept appearing and disappearing on various parts of my body, trying to get a better view of all the people. And the void serpent? It was coiled in a configuration that existed about 60% in this dimension and 40% somewhere else, which made everyone watching deeply uncomfortable. Hi, Professor, I said cheerfully. I'm back, and I brought friends. Kretsch's 4 arms were trembling. His scales had gone a shade paler. That is, the void serpent? Yeah. Also a Razorback Titan and a Shriek Stalker. I'd introduce you, but I don't think they like you very much. The serpent says you smell like fear and overcompensation. That's a direct quote, by the way. I did not say overcompensation. The void serpent's voice echoed in everyone's heads simultaneously. Several students fainted. That was implied. Chirp pushed through the crowd, his antennae practically vibrating. Jake, you're alive. And you have. Why do you have the 3 most dangerous predators on Vorgath 7 following you like you're their mom? It's a long story involving spite, protein bars, and a fundamental misunderstanding of what hunting actually is. Thornick emerged from the crowd, looking significantly worse for wear. His fur was singed, he was limping, and his plasma rifle looked like it had been used as a chew toy. You cheated, he growled. Real hunters don't befriend their prey. You're right, I agreed. Real hunters don't. But humans aren't real hunters. We're something way more dangerous. We're persistent social engineers with a knack for turning enemies into allies. The Titan chose that moment to gently bump me with its head, nearly knocking me over. The Shriek Stalker appeared on my shoulder and nuzzled against my neck. The Void Serpent's presence in everyone's mind felt distinctly protective. Professor Kretsch finally found his voice. This is unacceptable. You were supposed to bring back a trophy. Proof of a successful hunt. Not this circus. Oh, you wanted proof? I reached into my pack and pulled out 3 items. A scale from the Titan that it had shed naturally, a feather from the stalker that it had given me while preening, and a small crystal that the Void Serpent had produced from whatever dimensional pocket it kept things in. Here, 3 trophies from 3 apex predators, all acquired without violence, trauma, or unnecessarily proving my masculinity through combat. The clearing went dead silent, but more importantly, I continued, because apparently I couldn't help myself. I think we need to talk about what this academy is actually teaching. You're training hunters to fight, to dominate, to prove superiority through violence. But that's not hunting. That's just combat with extra steps. I gestured to my 3 companions. Real hunting, the kind humans perfected over hundreds of thousands of years, isn't about being the strongest. It's about being the smartest, the most adaptable, the most patient. It's about understanding your target so well that you can predict its behavior, exploit its patterns, and turn the entire situation to your advantage. Human is correct, the Void Serpent announced. Previous hunters were loud, aggressive, predictable. This one was clever. Noticed. The Titan roared in agreement, which sent several more students scrambling backward. Kretsch's scales had gone from pale to almost translucent. You didn't hunt them. You manipulated them. Tomato, I said. Although if we're being technical, I used behavioral analysis, pattern recognition, and strategic resource deployment to establish mutually beneficial relationships with 3 territorial apex predators. But sure, let's call it manipulation. Humans have been manipulating wolves into becoming dogs for 15,000 years. We manipulated wild cats into house cats. We turned aurochs into cows, wild boars into pigs, and murder horses into transportation. We're really, really good at this. Pip raised a trembling paw. But how? How did you even start? The Void Serpent kills everything that enters its territory. Easy. I didn't treat it like a monster. I treated it like a very large, very dangerous, very lonely individual who was tired of idiots with weapons showing up to prove something. I looked at Kretsch. Turns out, when you approach things with respect instead of aggression, sometimes they don't kill you. Wild concept, I know. Chirp was trying very hard not to laugh. I could see his mandibles twitching like crazy. Furthermore, I said, warming to my theme, I'd like to point out that not one of these predators is hurt. Not one of them was traumatized. The Titan here is actually in better shape than when I found it because I helped remove some parasites from its armor plating. The Stalker got regular meals and someone to preen with. And the Serpent got the first actual conversation it's had in 3 centuries. I'd argue this is significantly more ethical than the traditional approach of shoot it until it stops moving. Human also gave food, the Void Serpent added helpfully. Food was terrible but appreciated. The protein bars are an acquired taste, I admitted. Professor Kretsch looked like he was trying to formulate an argument, but his brain kept short-circuiting every time he looked at the Void Serpent, which was now playfully shifting through dimensions in a way that made reality hiccup. So here's the deal, Professor, I said. You challenged me to prove humans can hunt. I did. By every metric you established, I succeeded. I tracked apex predators. I studied their behavior. I acquired trophies. I survived. The only difference is I didn't do it your way. I did it the human way, which apparently involves making friends with things that could erase you from existence. Chirp muttered. Hey, it worked, didn't it? The dean of the academy, a dignified spider-like being named Administrator Velk, stepped forward. She'd been watching the entire exchange with an expression I couldn't quite read. Candidate Rodriguez, these creatures, will they return to Vorgath 7? And oh, I looked at my 3 companions. The Titan was now lying down, apparently napping. The Stalker was invisible, but I could feel it perched on my head. The Void Serpent's presence in my mind felt settled, comfortable. I said, about that. They seem to think they're coming with me. Pack stays together, the Void Serpent confirmed. Administrator Velk's multiple eyes blinked in sequence. I see. And you intend to keep them? I mean, I didn't intend to. but they're kind of attached now. And honestly, have you ever tried to tell an interdimensional serpent that it can't sleep on your couch? It's really awkward. This is completely unprecedented, Kretsch sputtered. Yeah, I agreed. That's kind of humanity's whole thing. We're really good at doing stuff that's never been done before, usually because everyone else was smart enough not to try it. Administrator Velk studied me for a long moment. Then, shockingly, she laughed. It sounded like wind chimes in a hurricane. Professor Kretsch, it appears you owe candidate Rodriguez an apology. Kretsch looked like he'd bitten into a lemon. He completed the final hunt using methods you deemed impossible. He demonstrated superior tactical thinking, behavioral analysis, and adaptive strategy, all while showing significantly more ethical consideration for the target species than the standard approach. Velk's eyes fixed on Kretsch. And most importantly, he proved that your assessment of human hunting capabilities was, shall we say, incomplete. I like this one, the Void Serpent announced, presumably referring to Velk. She is sensible. I grinned at Kretsch. So, Professor, about that whole participation trophy thing? Professor Kretsch looked like he was having a personal crisis. All four of his arms hung limply at his sides. His scales had gone a concerning shade of gray, and one of his eyes was twitching. You want to know how I did it? I said, taking pity on him. Sort of. You want to know how a human, with no natural weapons, no enhanced strength, no venom or claws, managed to walk into the most dangerous hunting ground in the galaxy and come back with 3 apex predators as, essentially, pets? Please, Kretsch croaked. This violates everything I know about predator dynamics. I walked over to him, my entourage following. The Titan's footsteps made the ground shake. The stalker materialized briefly, just to be intimidating. The Void Serpent's form rippled through several dimensions in what I'd learned was its version of a smile. Here's the thing, Professor. Humans didn't become the apex predator of Earth by being the strongest. We're not. We're actually pretty pathetic physically. We don't have claws, our teeth are terrible, we're not particularly fast, and our armor is basically just hope and skin. By all rights, we should have been eaten into extinction about 200,000 years ago. The crowd was completely silent now. Even the students who'd been whispering had shut up. But we survived. And then we thrived. You want to know why? Because we realized something that apparently no other species in this entire galaxy has figured out. I paused for effect. We don't hunt animals. We hunt relationships. Chirp's antennae perked up. What? Think about it. What did humans actually do on Earth? We found wolves, the apex predators of their ecosystem, and we didn't fight them. We fed them. We shared territory. We figured out how to communicate. And over thousands of years, we turned them into dogs, loyal companions who would die to protect us. We didn't dominate wolves. We made them want to be on our team. I gestured to the Titan. Same thing here. I didn't beat this guy in combat. That would be stupid and impossible. Instead, I studied its behavior, identified a problem it had, became the solution to that problem, and established myself as non-threatening. It started following me because I became more useful alive than dead. The shriek stalker chirped and rubbed against my head. This one? Invisible ambush predators are curious by nature. They have to be. It's part of their hunting strategy. So I gave it something interesting to investigate. Me. A weird alien doing weird things. I fed its curiosity before I fed it actual food. By the time it realized I could be prey, we were already past that dynamic. And the serpent? Administrator Velk asked. Genuinely curious now. The serpent was lonely. 3,000 years in the same canyon, and every living thing that shows up either attacks or runs away. It's been so long since it had a conversation that didn't end in violence that it forgot conversations were possible. I didn't offer it a fight. I offered it something way more valuable. I tapped my head. Recognition. Respect. Acknowledgement that it was more than just a monster to be conquered. Human is annoyingly perceptive, the Void Serpent said, but its mental voice was warm. So you see, Professor, humans don't hunt the way you hunt. We don't track down prey and kill it. We track down opportunities and exploit them. We identify what something wants, what it needs, what it fears, and we position ourselves accordingly. We're not predators in the traditional sense. We're social engineers, relationship hackers, professional manipulators who've spent 200,000 years perfecting the art of turning everything we meet into either food, friends, or tools. I looked around at the assembled crowd. And before anyone gets uncomfortable with that phrasing, let me be clear. This isn't evil, this is survival. Humans survived because we realized that making allies is more efficient than making enemies. A wolf pack that hunts with you is better than a wolf pack you have to fight. A horse you can ride is better than a horse you have to chase. And 3 apex predators who think you're pack. The Titan roared softly, almost affectionately. Yeah, that's better than any trophy. Thornick, still looking worse for wear, growled from the back. So you're saying humans are just good at lying? At manipulating things into trusting you? No, I said firmly. I'm saying humans are good at building trust. There's a difference. The Titan trusts me because I helped it when it was trapped. The Stalker trusts me because I fed it and didn't treat it like a monster. The Serpent trusts me because I saw it as an individual, not a target. That's not manipulation. That's empathy. That's understanding. That's the thing humans do better than any other species on Earth, and apparently, better than most species in the galaxy. We domesticated our predators. I continued. We turned our competitors into our companions. We looked at the food chain and said, you know what would be better than being at the top? If we could convince everything else to help us stay there. And it worked. Humans conquered Earth not through strength but through an absolutely unhinged ability to pack bond with literally anything. Chirp was openly laughing now. You pack bonded with a void serpent. In my defense, it pack bonded back. This is true, the serpent confirmed. Human is pack now. Pack is important. Professor Kretsch slowly sank into a sitting position, all 4 arms covering his face. I need to rewrite my entire curriculum. I mean, yeah, probably, I agreed. But hey, look on the bright side. You just witnessed the first successful non-violent acquisition of a void serpent trophy in galactic history. That's got to count for something in academic papers. Administrator Velk stepped forward again. Candidate Rodriguez. About your accommodation situation. Oh no. Yeah, about that. I know the dorms aren't exactly designed for. We'll be converting the old gymnasium into specialized housing. For you and your companions. She paused. This is not a reward. This is damage control. The alternative is having a void serpent attempting to sleep in student housing, and I don't think the building codes account for interdimensional beings. That's very reasonable of you. Don't mistake this for approval, Candidate Rodriguez. You've created an unprecedented situation that's going to require months of paperwork and several new regulations. Sorry? No, you're not. She almost smiled. But you've also proven something valuable. Perhaps it's time the Galactic Hunter Academy expanded its definition of hunting. After all, if humans can turn apex predators into loyal companions, imagine what other species might accomplish with similar approaches. Kretsch looked up from his hands. You can't be serious. We're hunters, not friendship counselors. We're educators. Professor Kretsch. Velk corrected. And education means adapting when we're proven wrong. Which, today, we very much were. And I felt the void serpent's presence in my mind, amused and satisfied. The Titan was still napping, using my discarded tent as a pillow. The Shriek Stalker had found Chirp and was trying to preen his antennae, much to his alarm and delight. So, I said to Kretsch. About that apology? He stood up slowly, all 4 arms hanging in defeat. Mr. Rodriguez, I was incorrect. About humans. About hunting. About apparently everything I've spent my career teaching. Hey, it happens. If it makes you feel better, humans are incorrect about stuff constantly. We just tend to stumble forward anyway and see what happens. That, Kretsch said with feeling, is the most terrifying survival strategy I've ever encountered. Yeah, I agreed cheerfully. But it works surprisingly well. We call it science. As the crowd began to disperse, Chirp skittered over, the Shriek Stalker still perched on his head. So, Jake, what now? You've got 3 apex predators, you've humiliated the most respected professor at the academy, and you've fundamentally challenged several thousand years of hunting tradition. What's your next move? I looked at my unlikely pack. The Titan, the Stalker, and the Void Serpent. 3 of the most dangerous creatures in the known galaxy. And they'd all decided I was worth following. Honestly, I'm going to need to figure out what these guys eat. The protein bars won't last forever. I paused. Also, I should probably call my mom. She's going to want to know why there's an interdimensional serpent in my social media posts. Your mother? The Void Serpent asked, suddenly very interested. Humans have pack elders? Oh no, Chirp said. You're going to introduce them to your family, aren't you? I grinned. Chirp, my friend. Let me tell you about humanity's second greatest talent after befriending apex predators. I started walking toward my new gymnasium turned home. My pack following faithfully behind. We're really good at convincing our mothers that the dangerous creatures we brought home are actually very sweet and wouldn't hurt anyone. Human mother sounds formidable, the Void Serpent observed. Oh, you have no idea, I said. But don't worry. She's going to love you guys. Probably. Assuming she doesn't ground me for the rest of eternity. Behind us, I could hear Professor Kretsch trying to explain to Administrator Velk why his entire teaching methodology needed to be reviewed. Thornick was arguing with anyone who'd listen that I'd cheated somehow, and Pip was asking nervously if she could pet the Titan. Just another day at the Galactic Hunter Academy, except now, humanity had officially proven what we'd known all along. We don't need to be the strongest, the fastest, or the most dangerous. We just need to be the most persistently, annoyingly, impossibly friendly species in the galaxy. And honestly, that's way more terrifying.